We're celebrating Cyber Monday all week long. Early registration for the 2-day Health and Wealth Expo Live Summit in May 2025 is open. Head over to healthandwealthsummit2024.com and secure your spot now. Welcome to Nurses with Voices. I'm Dr. Lendra, your host and fellow nurse who's traded in burnout for breakthroughs. I'm here to show you how to transform your nursing career into one filled with purpose, reduced stress, and incredible opportunities. Whether you're looking to start your own business, build generational wealth, or simply find a healthier role in nursing, this podcast is for you. Join me to explore practical strategies to overcome burnout, combat bias, and chart new paths in nursing. It's time to reclaim your voice and reimagine your future in healthcare. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Nurses with Voices. I'm Dr. Lendra, and today I have Kelly Flowers. After losing her nursing job of over 30 years post-COVID, Kelly switched gears and started her own financial coaching business. Kelly has been able to continue this journey by helping healthcare professionals improve the way they manage their money. And if anyone who's been listening, you know that for me, your health is your wealth. And I'm all about health and wealth, especially recently given our Health and Wealth Expo. Please welcome Kelly Flowers to our Nurses with Voices podcast. Kelly, welcome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me, Lendra. I'm so excited to be here and to be able to talk a little bit of finances and how we can help nurses build their wealth so that they can do what they want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Share a little bit about after 30 years post-COVID, you lost your nursing job. Can you talk a little bit about that and share with the listeners what that was like?
Yeah, sure. So I worked in the same facility for 30 years. I worked 10 years oncology med surg, and then I did 20 years in the recovery room. And I really enjoyed that job. It was a job where I was able to really collaborate with a lot of professionals on a different level. And it was just a great place to work for me. And then through COVID, the mandates came down regarding the vaccination. And personally, I could not take the vaccination. It wasn't something that was right for me or my family. And because of that, and because of my non-compliance with their protocol, I lost my job. And so I lost my job at the end of 2021. I had worked all through COVID. We've done and most nurses have done that. And, different shifts and different schedules and different protocols, things changed during that time. And then when the mandate came down, like I said, I lost my job. So at the end of 2021, I didn't really know what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And so what was nice was because of my financial stability and the plan that my husband and I worked, I was able to take time off. I was able to take time off and think about, do I want to go back into healthcare? Do I want to launch something else? I wasn't sure what that was going to look like. So at the end of May, I came across a program called Dave Ramsey's Financial Coach Master Training. And I decided to take that on. And I went through the course and the training all summer and started to launch my business at the end of 2022, but didn't really start until 2023. And I just know the freedom that I had of being able to lose my job and being able to start something new. And that's what I want for our profession. As healthcare providers and as somebody who's been in the field for a long time, just as you are, we care about so many things, but we don't necessarily take the time to really care about us and our finances. Going into nursing, everybody has this desire to help somebody else. We have this wonderful gift of putting others first, and we do try to take care of ourselves, but we tend to be the last in the wagon, right? And so we put our family first, we put our friends first, we put our coworkers first, we put the institution that we work at first, and we put our patients first. I mean, everybody knows this that I'm talking to. When you're looking and talking to a nurse, we are a different breed. There are days where you don't even go to the bathroom for 8 hours because of what you're giving up of yourself. And so when I was thinking about all of this, I thought, we are the most selfless people at times, and yet we don't build the wealth that we can possibly be building, and we doesn't allow us to make really great choices, or it allows us to be able to make choices when we aren't financially stable. And I think it's one of the tenets of our lives that need to get under control so that people can step out like I have after nursing for 30 years and go into a different part of caring for other people, without having a hesitancy of doing it.
Everything you said is just so profound and it's just so rich. I mean, everything from nurses not going to the bathroom for, for us being selfless and to not being prepared. And
Yeah.
you're not alone where a lot of nurses actually lost their job, post COVID, not
Hmm.
taking the vaccine. And, I don't like to speak to things when I can't speak to them intelligently, but I believe it was the state of New York where a lot of nurses lost their jobs and they
Hmm.
actually they got them back. Like there were some who they actually were offered their jobs back as nurses. But the fact that the point is, the reason I bring this up, the fact that you would let me go, right? Like we worked through an entire pandemic without a
Hmm.
vaccine, right? It was mandatory and expected for us to come to work. And now you create this vaccine. And don't get me wrong, I'm thankful that there was a vaccine because I believe in the research and the data that came afterwards, how it's decreased. It may not, what is the saying? They may not prevent you from getting COVID, but we don't see the number of lives being lost that we saw during the pandemic. And I say all this to say it's almost like a slap in the face for organizations to decide whether it was a mandate from the state or whatever the regulations came from. So it's almost like a slap in the face for us to work an entire pandemic and then to tell us that, well, if you don't get this vaccine you can't work here anymore, and for nurses to actually lose their jobs. And I'm just thankful that there are people like you who can show nurses and healthcare professionals alike how to start to get your finances in order so that if you ever are in a situation like that, you understand that you don't have to take, because it's almost, and maybe this is my opinion, it's almost like a form of abuse, right? When you think about it. But it's like an abuse of power almost. But, and it's, because basically you're taking away my means of caring for myself and my family, and you're making me do something that may not necessarily speak to whether it's my religional preferences or whether it's my personal preferences or whatever it
Hmm.
is, it's just not, it's not right. In your experience as a financial consultant, what are some common mistakes nurses and healthcare professionals make when it comes to investing, and how can they avoid these pitfalls?
Yeah, sure. I think the number one mistake that people in the healthcare professional make is that they don't know their numbers. They have no idea what they have to invest. They don't know where to invest. But the biggest one is they just don't know their number, right? They have no idea what their expenses are per month. They don't know where they're spending their money, and it causes them not to be able to create a plan to know what to invest. The second thing is too is that they carry a lot of debt with healthcare professionals, and we all know this. We all come out with some student loan debt because it cost us money, a lot of money, to get the degrees that we need to be able to do the job that we have been hired to do. So they carry a lot of debt, and they don't realize that when we're carrying this debt, it's actually preventing us from putting into our retirement plans as much as we can. So that would be mistake number two. That would be something that I would definitely encourage people to do, is get out of that debt. The third thing is they don't have an emergency fund. And so when I talk about an emergency fund, this goes back to knowing your numbers. It goes back to understanding what does my expenses look like per month? And then if you're, whether you're single or you're married, but having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, which is covering the cost of your expenses for that period of time, put away so that you have money for unexpected things, and you can pay for them. The transmission goes out in your car, you need a water heater, your air conditioning goes out. It's those types of things that would cover. And that again, that is going to actually, when you have those funds put to the side, it actually allows you to be able to continue to save for your retirement. The other thing is They don't invest as much as they should be. So many people just invest up to the match. And actually, with retirement accounts and the way that my plan works with the individuals that I coach, we get you up to about 15% of your income. And so it's important to go beyond that max so that you're saving enough to cover the cost in your retirement. And the other mistakes that we make is we don't get professional help. I am not a professional advisor. I don't do investing. So I always encourage my clients to look for somebody who is able to assist them down this road. I know there's a lot of people think that they can DIY this, but unless you have the knowledge and the schooling and the education in the financial industry, I always suggest that you hand it off to somebody else. You want somebody who has the heart of a teacher, who's going to actually teach you how to invest your money and what you should be investing it in. You also want somebody who aligns with what you value. They're going to ask you questions about, what do you want to do in retirement? What are your values? What does retirement look like for you? And so they're able then to create this plan for you to get you to where you need to be. And the other aspect of that is you should never invest in anything that you don't understand. Always ask questions, right? So sometimes people will give their money over to others and they just are investing, but they have no idea what they're investing in. So you should have an educated knowledge of that so that you know what you're doing. And then the other thing is retirement is not an age, but it's a number. And so we often think that, 65's coming, 67's coming, I'm retirement, I can go. But it's actually not the way that you should be looking at retirement. We should be looking at a number. How much money do you need in retirement to live the lifestyle that you want? So many people do not even take that into consideration. And so then when they come into retirement, they pull out, they go into retirement, and then they find they don't have enough money. And so that's where I work alongside my clients, is to build that up so that when they go into retirement, they don't have to come back out of retirement to do per diem work or to do anything that they can just enjoy it, right? It's knowing what you want to do. And so those are the mistakes that I see regularly with when it comes to retirement.
One of your first points, you mentioned putting away money and having about like 3 to 6 months of
Mhm.
reserve, basically, right?
Yep.
Someone who is living paycheck to paycheck, what would you suggest for them to do in order to build up that type of reserve?
Yeah, sure. So that's where a plan comes in, right? It goes back to knowing your numbers. So many people have no idea really where they're spending their money. And until you get clarity on what it is and what you're doing with your money, you can't really start to save it. It's amazing to me that when we sit down and we look at budgets and say, okay, we're going to start doing a budget, it's that terrible word of, oh, that's going to restrict me. But actually, it's a spending plan. You're actually listing your money and where you're spending it. And when you start to see the things that you're purchasing, or the amount of money that and the payments that you're making to somebody else, whether it's a car payment, student loan payment, personal loan, whatever, credit card payments, when you start to see how much money you're spending or giving to somebody else rather than yourself, it starts to give us that clarity and we start to get out of that debt. Then once you free up that money and those payments, you're able to build up that emergency fund rather quickly. And you stop living that paycheck to paycheck. It's really getting on a plan.
Many nurses rely on their 401k as their
Yes.
primary retirement plan. But can you explain why it's important to diversify with options like Roth IRAs and what advantages these offer healthcare workers?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I look at retirement accounts is it goes match beats Roth, Roth beats traditional. And so if you have a 401k that your employer matches, then you want to put in up to that match. And we always look at it at a 15% rate of what you're going to be putting in. So say your employer matches up to 5%, we want you to put in up to that 5%. Then the next 10%, we always suggest that you would put into a Roth IRA. And the reason we go for the Roth IRA is because Roths are taxed prior to them going in. It's after your taxes. So it's not pre-tax, where your traditional Roth 401k is a pre-tax contribution, meaning that you're going to put it in, your employer is going to match it. And then when you start to draw on it in your retirement, you're going to be taxed on it when you pull it out. But a Roth is actually it's a nice vessel that you can put in your income after taxes. So anything that you apply or put into this vessel now, it's going to grow with compounding interest. And by the time you pull from it in retirement, you don't have to pay taxes on it. And so we encourage the Roth because your tax credit now, or what you're taxed at now as you're younger, is not as high as when you're at the end of your career. So you could end up being in a different tax bracket. And so your taxes at that point, and when you pool on your 401k, they're going to be taxing you at that current tax bracket. And so you could really save a lot of money. With a Roth IRA, you can only put up to $7,000 a year if you're less than 50 years old. And if you're 50 or greater, you can put in $8,000 a year. And a lot of times it's a great opportunity for somebody who is actually financially stable and able to do this. You fund it at the beginning of the year. You allow the compounding interest to collect for you. And you could really build your wealth.
For nurses and healthcare
Mhm.
professionals who feel overwhelmed by financial
Yes.
planning, what are the key steps they should take today, right, to start securing their financial futures beyond just that 401k?
Yeah. So another option that they have too, and I know a lot of companies do offer this through their healthcare plans, are HSA accounts. And so if you are a healthy individual, or if you're somebody who has chronic disease and you meet your deductible every year, HSA accounts are fabulous because they're the trifecta, right? So they come out pre-tax, they gain they compound interest tax free. And then when you pool on them to use for medical expenses, they're still tax free. But the nice thing about an HSA is that the money that you place into that stays with you your entire life. So if you leave the job that you're at now, that money goes with you. And it rolls over every year. It's not like a flexible spending account where your employer gives you so much money, or you can put into so much and you have to use it within that time frame and you lose it. An HSA account is a great way to actually build some wealth, tax free. It's not taxed while it's in there, and when you pull it during the time frame of health that you're using it for healthcare, it's still tax free. And the nice thing is that when you hit 65 and you go into Medicare, that will convert any money that's in that will convert to a traditional IRA. And so you can then draw on it for anything outside of healthcare into your retirement. The only downcome of that is that they will tax it when you pull it out from that IRA. But the nice thing is you could be adding money in. If you've maxed out your 401k, if you've maxed out your Roth IRAs and you're still looking for another venue, this is a great place to put your money because it's tax free for all those years, and then it converts into a retirement account. So you never lose it. And it's a great way for you to continue to build your wealth.
I thank you for explaining the difference between the HSA and the FSA, because I think a lot of
Oh, sure.
people use the term interchangeably. And to your point, I own a wellness business, and in my wellness business, we accept the flexible spending, and a lot of people don't have it, and a lot of people,
Right.
the HSA accounts, we actually accept that as a form of payment, and
Sure.
a lot of people don't have it, and I had to come to, because it was something that I always did when I worked in the traditional setting. So I had to come to terms, like, and I would, throw out the option, and people would say, "Oh, I don't have that." And I would be like, "Really?" And I had to stop that because I thought it was something that everyone knew about and used, because I
Yeah.
know I would use it I remember I got my son's braces with it. So I had, how the insurance pays like 50% for orthodontics and you have to pay the
Yep.
other 50%. I went
Yep.
right into my HSA account and I paid for it. You know what I mean? So I accept that as a form of payment, a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know anything about it. And it's almost like then I come to educate. I'm like, oh yeah, your account. But I know sometimes if they miss it, they have to wait until open enrollment, which again, I
Yep.
think people just, they're not don't want to say not educated on, but when they're when they're, when we accept a role, accept a position, and we know the benefits come with it. A lot of us, we're just thinking about like medical and dental, right? We're not thinking about the other offers like HSA accounts, right? That our organizations are offering. I say all that to say thank you for just doing a great job at defining what it means and what it is. Uh, you know, as we wrap up, healthcare workers, and as healthcare workers, we often focus on caring for others, as you mentioned earlier. But
Mhm.
why should planning for retirement and investing early be a form of self-care that we can't afford to ignore?
Oh, definitely. Because what happens is like I said before, when we get into retirement and we have not done the pre-planning, if we don't know our numbers, if we don't know what we want to do in retirement, do you want to travel? Are you tired? You just want to stay home and enjoy life and just be still. Like these are all things that we need to take into account. And if it is self-care in that, if you get to the retirement age and you have all these plans, but you haven't planned for it and you don't have the money, you can't enjoy your later years. You can't enjoy the fruits of your labor. And so many times I've seen people where they have gone into retirement and then they come back to work per diem. You're tired, and I mean, no offense, but you've given of your time, and nursing is a very stressful physical job. And so I think a lot of times too, I see nurses go into their latter years and they haven't taken care of their health. They haven't taken care of their finances. And because of that, we end up passing away early. And so it's also about your longevity of life, being able to enjoy those times with your family, just being off of work. It's that form of self-care, and it gives you peace in mind and security. Everybody wants to have that security going into retirement. And if you don't really know your numbers and if you haven't planned well, when it gets to be that age, your age, and it's getting close to retirement, then people start to panic and we can make bad choices. We can do wrong decisions. This allows you to be able to plan out, to look at things as they come. And then there's this overwhelming peace that comes with it, that you're able to transition into doing this or leaving your job even, and knowing that you're going to be okay and you can enjoy your life.
It's been so rich. I can thoroughly appreciate you joining me today. I love the information that you shared. And to the listeners, please, let the listeners know, where can they find you?
Sure. My company's name is 1114 Financials, and you can reach me email at 1114financials@outlook.com. And it's written exactly like that, with the 11, the number 14, and then financials. And I do have a website. I'm creating a new website. So I'm using this old one, which is www.ramseycoach.com/1114 financials. And yeah, if anybody would ever love to have a conversation, I'd love to talk with them. I'd love to get them moving forward, and just being able to have the peace of mind knowing that walking into retirement, you're going to have the money that you need to live the lifestyle that you want. But not only that, creating a plan so that when it's time for you to leave a position, and it does get there, you work in a certain area for a long time, and sometimes it's time for us to leave and to do and to venture into something new. You knowing you have that financial security and that you're financially sound makes those decisions a little bit easier.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll make sure that everything, your contact information, is in the show notes for those who are not watching on YouTube. So make sure. Yeah, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to add as we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing is just getting on a plan. And you know what? I want to encourage people too that I hear this so many times from healthcare professionals, that I should know how to do this. And I make this money, and yet I'm so embarrassed because I have nothing to show for it. Um, you don't have to be embarrassed. So many people have no idea how to do this because we've never been taught. And that's not what this is about. It's about lifting each other up so that we can get to the next level. And that's what my coaching is all about.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly, for joining me today. And there you have it. Until next time, make sure that you stay inspired, stay educated, and stay empowered.